Changing a Leopard's Spots is a book that delves into the craft of wildlife tracking, the power of relationships, and some of the social, cultural, racial, and even personal boundaries that come with it. Written by Alex van Den Heever and Renias Mhlongo, the two share a detailed story of the bond they've shared through their more than 2 decades journey of tracking wild animals around the world. To shed more light on this incredible journey, we joined on Skype by one of the authors, Alex van Den Heever. Alex, a very good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome.
Morning. Thank you very much. Thank you, Sipiwe.
Why did you decide to write this book, and also why you chose the title Changing a Leopard's Spots?
Well, it's been 25 years that I've had a relationship with Renias Mhlongo, and I felt that it was a unique one. Over the years, I've written various stories about our experiences and adventures working and living together. And so last year I decided I'd put it into a book, and obviously with Renias's input, it didn't take as long. We wrote it, and in terms of the title, it basically alludes to the fact that any one of us can change who we are. We are not hardwired, and I think that proximity to a person or a people different to you can change your views on them, and so hence the title.
You and Renias have shared some of the most extraordinary moments throughout your journey. Do share with us some of those key unforgettable memories.
I think probably one of the most unforgettable would be the time we tracked a leopard together, and we found the animal on foot. It was between the game drives, so it was in the middle of the day, so none of the guests were with us, as are usually. And we found this animal, and instead of finding it and then leaving and going and fetching the vehicle and trying to view it from the Land Rover, Renias suggested we go and we walk with it. And it was just an unbelievably unusual experience. This animal just accepted us, and we spent an hour and a half walking with it. As it moved about, it marked its territory. We got into its life intimately in that period of time. Ultimately, it started to hunt a small antelope, and there was a point right at the end where this leopard was crouched down, stalking a grey duiker, and Renias and I were crouched just behind it. And there was this unusual band of humans and animals together in a hunting sequence, which is no doubt the most unbelievable sighting I've ever had. So we weren't in it. We didn't have the safety of the Land Rover. We were on foot with it. It didn't show us any form of aggression. Every now and then it would just glance at us, but it was totally accepting, and it was just an unbelievable experience.
Yeah, it is totally unbelievable. So what did you have as a backup just in case, it showed some sort of aggression towards you?
We had no backups, nothing at all. We didn't have a rifle. We were totally, but I got the sense that Renias, he made the call. He said, let's do this. And we'd been tracking that leopard for a number of years before. So we think she recognized us. In fact, what was interesting is after that experience, what we would find is sometimes if we did find her in the Land Rover, she'd be walking through a clearing, and she'd see us, and she'd turn, and she'd come straight towards us, and she'd make this like chuffing sound, which she didn't do to any of the other guides or trackers. So we were certain she could recognize.
Well, in the book, you also revealed some of the challenges you faced when you met Renias. That includes, cultural differences, the language barriers. How did you guys manage to overcome that and make your relationship work all these years?
Yeah, that's a question I get asked often, and it's an interesting one. I think Renias and I have there's just a natural friendship there, just like any two people who become best friends. We share a sense of humor. We've shared a lot of experiences, and I think if one is to craft a relationship with trust, shared experiences must be at the top of the list. That's where you develop meaning in the relationship. And then with shared experiences comes a level of vulnerability and an opening. And I think that's the basis on which any two human beings, irrespective of your language, your skin color, can start to develop a genuine relationship. And that, in a work sense, is highly productive too.
Yeah. And what are some of the lessons then that you think people will learn from your relationship with Renias as you shared it in this book?
Well, I think especially people who come from diverse backgrounds, bring unusual, unique qualities to the relationship, and I think that diversity brings strength. And I'm strong in some ways, and Renias is strong in others. And as a team, we've developed that strength. And there's no leader in our team. There's no hierarchical sort of situation where he's older than me, so that he's always in charge, or I have a higher level of education. That doesn't come into it. The person who leads the leadership comes in the moment. Whoever is uniquely qualified to make the call, whether it's tracking a leopard or booking a flight or talking to people about our relationship, whoever has the skill in that moment, relevant skill, takes the lead.
Let's talk about the art of trekking. What does this particular profession entail, and how does one become a wildlife trekker? I mean, you guys will go down in history as having walked alongside a leopard for 1.5 hours with no backup, with no ammunition whatsoever.
Yeah, so, wildlife tracking is an indigenous African skill. Many believe it developed on the African continent thousands and thousands of years ago. We're involved with an NGO called the Tracker Academy, which aims to restore indigenous knowledge and wildlife tracking skills. And contrary to what people think, tracking is a skill just like learning to play soccer or cricket. The more, yes, some people have an aptitude for it than others, but the more you practice it, deep, effortful practice, along with good quality training, can produce trackers. And that's what Tracker Academy is doing. We train 24 guys a year, and we then deploy them in conservation jobs, ecotourism, animal monitoring, wildlife protection. And in the 11 years we've been going, some close to 90% of our tracker graduates are now in permanent conservation jobs. So that there demonstrates a genuine need for it. And I guess our agenda is to prove that the ancient art of tracking still has relevance in modern conservation efforts in Southern Africa.
Well, trekking may be a skill, as you just mentioned, yes, that's fair enough. But I suppose then it's also a gamble with your life, because we can never be too sure what that particular animal's next move will be. You can never be sure on how aggressive that particular animal can be, isn't it?
Yes, it's true. It's true, CP. But if you look at the statistics and the number of people walking and taking walks in Kruger National Park and game reserves throughout Southern Africa, the number of incidences are remarkably low. In fact, as Renias and I have gone through our careers, we find we take a rifle less and less and less often into the bush with us. Yes, we are required to do so by law if we've got paying guests with us, absolutely. But when we're on our own, and often with our students, we are not taking a rifle. And Renias has always been of the view that our first line of defense is our awareness and our understanding of the animal that we are following. And quite frankly, I think it's more dangerous to walk in certain parts. I think humans are far more unpredictable than animals are.
That's the first thing I've heard. That's the weirdest thing I've heard all morning. Now, how has the pandemic we are currently facing affected the trekking field?
Yeah, so it has affected it. A large portion of our students go into tourism jobs, and of course, most of the tourism industry is closed. And so a lot of them have lost jobs or are on unpaid leave. So it's had a dramatic effect. However, on the flip side, those who have gone into wildlife protection and who are working in these anti-poaching units have been able to remain active right throughout this pandemic. So that they've been okay, but it definitely has had an impact.
Okay, Alex, great chatting to you. We thank you for your time.
Thank you, Sibu. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, joining us via Skype there was Alex van Den Heever, and we've been speaking about a book that he co-wrote with Renias Mhlongo titled Changing a Leopard Spots, The Adventures of Two Wildlife Trekkers. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment.